Hello everybody and welcome to MMOFTW live on this Valentine's Day edition, only 20 minutes late. We can blame Gabe, who is currently still showing up as an armadillo, but we're going to change that in a second. I just wanted you guys to see him as an armadillo. A lot of Skype issues.
Spirit animal.
I had Skype issues. Gabe had Skype issues. The only one who was always perfect, as always, is Robert Lashley. He's perfect. But hold on one second. Let's get Gabe in here. In reality, instead of an armadillo.
Armadillo.
Okay, and then we'll get things going.
Blame Joel.
Real Gabe. That's not real Gabe. Try this again. I love technology. I love it. It's my favorite thing ever. Okay, guys. So thank you for bearing with us and waiting as we got everything situated. And that's Gabe, right there. Gabe Mughelli from HiRez.
Hello.
Gabe is the PR guy, but he's a passionate gamer and a giant nerd, if you couldn't tell by the shirt and weird wonky headset we got going. Anyway, folks, I'm sorry. A little frazzled after the weird start here. So, MMOFTW, for those of you that are watching and those of you who haven't watched in the past, is just the show of three of us talking about the week that was in MMO news. So, right off the bat, let's get to the topics. We have the Wildstar Dominion faction, as you can see in the video, was revealed, and a new Stalker Rogue sort of class was revealed as well. We have the Ultima Forever release date announcement, well, kind of release window announcement, and like the first real gameplay video was released too. SMITE, Gabe might know a bit about this one, revealed its next god. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Neith?
Neith.
I was wrong on all counts. And we'll also talk a little bit about some of the other stuff HiRez has going on too, with their other game, Tribes Ascend. And we have Neverwinter. They just had a big old blog from Jack Emmert on our website, MMORPG.com, about the monetization of the free-to-play game, and it is really, really free-to-play. And of course, last but not least, we have the Star Wars: The Old Republic 1.7 Attack of the Gree. Is that? Am I saying that right?
Return of the Gree.
Return of the Gree event, which just launched on Tuesday. And in our community spotlight, when we get to the end, we will talk about how to fix the Holy Trinity in the MMO world. Okay, first up, let's go all the way back to number one. Wildstar announced its Dominion faction, which is the video you see, these kind of staunchy and really egotistical looking British guys with robots and all these other weird things. The new faction for Wildstar Online, and the Stalker class, which is like a rogue. Our own Sam Porfazana, who was actually in the studio in San Francisco and saw the faction, played with them, played with the new race, which he claims to, it's like his favorite race, or his favorite faction, I should say. Favorite faction? I gotta slow down. His favorite class that he's seen so far from Wildstar. He's a rogue player. But yeah, so we've spent the past few years with Wildstar waiting for more information, and they're really starting to open the floodgates. We always knew it was going to be a two-faction game, but for the past 2 years they hadn't said anything about the second faction. We just knew it was coming. And I don't know, what do you guys think so far of the Dominion, the evil faction of Wildstar Online? We'll let the guest go first.
All right. Nice. I was really impressed. I thought that the Exile video was really cool, and I like how Wildstar and Carbine, I like how the characters and just like these trailers have so much personality to them, and I'm really excited to see how that kind of translates into the actual MMO. Just like watching it, you can kind of get a feel for, like, I don't think they've said like one side's good, one side's evil, but like you can kind of get a feel for like whether or not you can relate to this guy. I forget his name. It was like Mordalius something or other, but he's just like
very pompous.
Yeah, something very pompous, and just like it's almost like to me, it almost seemed kind of Pixar-ish with like the level of detail and like the facial animations and just the way he came across. And it's very informational. I thought that the races they talked about was really cool. I noticed that in both videos they left one race out, so I guess they're holding on to talk about one at a later date. But I thought it was really cool. I thought it was awesome. I liked the style. I didn't think I would get back into that style because I played WoW for so many years, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do another MMO with the cartoony kind of look. But it just seems very what's the word, creative and
Yeah,
engaging
it oozes
and new.
personality.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so many MMOs take themselves so seriously, and this one's coming right off the gate and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're taking it a little bit lighter, so you can,
Yeah.
have fun with this world." What do you think, Rob?
The last two trailers they've released have been really impressive to me. I agree with Gabe about the fantasy art style. I think that you can continue to use that for a game and extend its lifespan with that, as opposed to try to strive for realism, because realism will get outdated really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Unreal 4 engine coming around and people going to be doing flashy MMOs looking with that. If you try to keep up with the realism, I think they'd fall behind. I like the art style. I enjoyed the video. I like the guy walking down the table showing the different statues, and he went to the one race. He's like, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about them right now."
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Like we talked about it with Jeremy Gaffney last week. With MMOs, especially considering they're supposed to be like games that last for years and years, if you try to make it hyper realistic, it's not going to last. After maybe if you're lucky, by the time it comes out, it'll still look good. But chances are, considering they take 5 years to develop, by the time it comes out, it'll look like crap. If you go with this style instead, just like World of Warcraft, you have a chance for it to age over time a lot better. And even though WoW's starting to look old now, its newer zones that are made more recently still look fantastic. It's just the engine was built and the whole art style was built with the notion in mind that the game's going to last for 10 years. And I think that's what Wildstar's doing. It looks great, and I want to play one of those Dominion guys so bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the dastardly guy with like the pencil thin mustache. Yeah, just doing this the whole time. Anyway,
I think I'm actually going to play the race that you saw as the Stalker class, but not be the Stalker class.
they're like what's their name? I can't.
Right.
I don't have the thing playing right now.
The Butt Scratchers.
The Butt Scratchers, yeah.
Because that's what he was doing in the video.
He was scratching a little bit.
Yes, he was.
It's fantastic though, because you have the first with the Granite and the Vesper and the Orin, or not Vesper, but the Orin and I think it's just the humans too. They're all very normal, very safe races. I wasn't expecting the Dominion to have this much kind of flair at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, so that's the Wildstar Dominion, and the Stalker class is just, it looks like a rogue to me. That's what I'm going to go out and say. It just looks like a rogue. Okay, it stealths, it stabs people, and
Positional combat.
yeah, that's kind of it. That's not a bad thing, I guess, considering that Wildstar is supposed to have this sort of action-based combat with dodging and tells from the enemies and from the players and stuff like that. But I don't know if I'm too excited about a Stalker, personally.
It was interesting. I was reading the write-up you guys did on it, and how it was talking about there's like I forget what they're called, but it's like a ground target that essentially will tell you where your attack will hit, and kind of lets you know if it's going to be a semicircle attack or a cone attack. And I think that's all really cool.
What's that sound like, though? What game does that sound like?
Yeah, what does that? I was just about to say that too, because like it made me instantly think to like Smite. And in a game, Smite's pretty fast paced, but in or at least from what I'm imagining, Wildstar's going to be like the combat's going to be pretty fast. So when you're looking at ground targets and you're trying to like fit things into your wedges and your cones and your lines and whatnot, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in just day to day, grinding, and also in like raid battles. And I think it's good. I think it's good that they're going in an action direction. I played Guild Wars 2, and I really liked how that game was kind of actiony, and it did mention how it has a dodge maneuver similar to that. So I think that'll be good. Like for me, just like in all the games I play in general, I just think that combat is not, I don't want to say like the core of the game, but a very important part of it. At least I think for me, it's definitely the core. Like combat has to be fun. It has to be like, for me, fast. It has to let me do like, different types of things, like customize how I fight, and not so I'm just like, I walk in and I press 1 and I just like sit and make like a sandwich, come back, loot something. It's like, I mean,
vanilla WoW Paladin. That's what you just described. I'll be back in an hour.
Yeah. Let me put on my seals and make a sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
and that's the thing, because you spend so much time fighting in these games. No matter what you say, everybody wants fluff. Everybody wants stuff that's additional on top of fighting. But the bulk of the game is still killing stuff, right? Rob, what do you think of the Stalker?
I've never been much for a rogue class. It seems kind of, roguey to me. It's just like every other rogue out there. It seemed like they were going stealth, going to sneak, getting behind them, to the side of them, attack, pop out, do some builders, follow with a finisher. I do appreciate the fact that they're trying to be action-oriented combat. I would like to see more MMOs progress towards maybe we get a certain set of skills that we can use, and it's more action-oriented from a broader base of skills. You kind of see this like in the Secret World, and even in Neverwinter we saw this in the beta last week, in that you have more skills out there, but you have to like pick and choose and know what the kind of the encounter and plan ahead for it. So I think action combat with a lot of skills, but narrowed down to you have to pick a certain set, that can make for a real fun game.
Yeah, that's what I'll be curious to see. And I don't know if they've really said it so much as if Wildstar uses that same sort of one hot bar mentality. But the build that I played was way back in alpha, like when they launched it, or not launched it, but when they announced it, and it was you just had the one bar, but you were also playing like level 4 characters, so there was not much else you could do. But yeah, I think that's key. Is like for character development. I know people don't like being limited to a certain small set of skills, but I think they're kind of onto something with the idea that, okay, if you have a bunch of skills to pick from, and you've got to figure out how they synergize and which ones work best for how you want to play, then a class that is, everybody might be playing the Stalker, but it could be played like 12 different ways. That would be the optimal goal. Okay, well, enough Wildstar. We got other stuff to talk about. Moving right along, let's talk about Ultima Forever. Kate Flack released, or not Kate Flack, but Kate Flack last week, she released a blog talking about bringing Ultima back to life, basically, and designing it for the iPad and all this in a new generation. And then just this week, the studio over there at Mythic actually said, guess what? It's coming out in spring. It'll be on the iPad, it'll be on the iPhone, and it'll also be on the PC, although hopefully it'll be all simultaneous. And you'll be able to play on the iPad, and then when you get home you could pull it up on the PC and keep playing there. But I know what you're thinking. It's not really an MMO, but it is of interest because it is online. It's like a co-op RPG. You can take your character and go into your friend's version of the world, and then you could get several friends together. It's not an MMO, but man, it's kind of like a halfway thing between MMO and a traditional single-player RPG. So it's interesting to talk about because it's the first we've seen of Ultima since when did Ultima Online come out? 2001? 2002? Anybody know off the top of their head?
It might have been in the 90s.
In the 99 even? Who knows?
Yeah, I want to say that it's 15 years old right now, so it probably came out in 98.
Whoa. See, look at that.
Ultima Online, 97 or 98.
There you go. Anybody got Wikipedia? Just pull it up real quick.
You don't have to. I'm telling you, it was like 97 or 98.
Wiki rates, go.
But this video...
Old MMOs are kind of my shtick.
Yeah. He does do that way back every Wednesday. Way back Wednesday. Anyway, so the video that you can see right now shows you they've got the same top-down perspective, but there's a lot of focus on combat and, visual flair and all this different stuff. And they're talking about how your choices make consequences. They're talking about how there's a story and this big, giant voyage and a world to go through. But you don't really see much of that in this video. All you see is a lot of fighting. And I'm worried, but hopefully it's, for naught. I'm worried that there's not going to be enough Ultima in this, which is those decisions you make and that role-playing part. I don't want it to be just Diablo in the Ultima skin. You know what I mean? Anyway, you guys, you ramble. I'm done.
Barnett's been promising that, there's going to be consequences. I did see the one thing that really kind of struck me, and this was actually, it was an interview on Gamasutra, not to throw people to other sites, but they were talking about let me slow down here. They were talking about the morality system, and that if you were in a group, you could find a chest, and you could either loot the chest and take all the loot for yourself, or loot the chest and share the loot amongst your group, and you kind of be prompt with the decision on what you would do when you open the chest. Now, not everybody would necessarily know that you opened that chest, but your morality would go down, and eventually your character would kind of get a reputation for being a loot hog, so to speak. So that's one of the things I read about that has kind of consequences for your actions. But watching that video, it actually felt more to me like Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy from single-player RPG, top-down map, looking at it from '90s in in Ultima, but that's just me.
Well, and like they've been really good about showing you like maps that are straight out of Ultima. I mean, these are things that you saw that you can visit in Ultima 4, the original, and you'll be visiting in Ultima Forever, which is essentially a remake of Ultima 4. Yeah. And they're identical. So I'm really hoping that a lot of what was great about Ultima 4, which were those consequences, that do you help out the peasant family if it means stealing a loaf of bread? That kind of stuff. I'm hoping that's in the game. But the trailer looks good, and I'm glad to finally see gameplay, but I want to see more of it. Like, this is the first time we've really seen it outside of a couple screenshots, and I'm impressed, but I'm not sold. Especially as like a guy that like got into PC gaming because of Ultima 7, the Black Gate, when I was a wee little lad. Go ahead, Gabe. You got any thoughts on that one?
I kind of don't know. I got multiple mixed feelings because I never really played any of the original Ultimas. Some of my friends talked about it, how Ultima Online, like the only times I've ever really heard about it is when I was really big into EQ, like back in high school, and people were like, oh, well, Ultima was, doing this before EQ came around and did it. And that was like kind of the only time I really heard about it. I never actually played it for myself. So I don't have that same, setup or feeling where I'm kind of like, a veteran who's like, oh man, they better like, get it right. And I wonder if it's going to be as good and can they live up to the hype and, oh, it's on iOS, or is that a problem sort of thing. But I'm just looking at it, like just me taking a look at it. I think that it definitely kind of reminded me a bit of Diablo, like you mentioned earlier, or Diablo-esque type of game. But I do think that if they do manage to, because I know that the decision making was something that made Ultima kind of stand out, so if they do manage to work that in somehow, and it is multiplayer, I think it'll be a fun way to pass the time. I mean, me personally, I don't play many mobile games. I got a PSP, I think, once, and I never even touched it. I'm more of a I just like to kind of, sit on my couch and really get into a game if I'm going to play it. But I think definitely my brother owns all the mobile everything, and I've seen him play games on his iPad that look kind of interesting. So I think that if I was to play a game mobile, I would probably play something kind of RPG-esque because I'm a nerd like that, and it would probably be something similar to this. But I really don't know. I can't really say too much. I just don't know too much about it besides what I've seen.
Well, and that's the thing. I think you touched on it. Like, it's an iOS game that I could probably get away with sitting on the couch when my wife wants my company to watch TV instead of sitting in my office playing something else. I could still have that experience of like a PC game, I'm hoping, on the iPad, and then when I'm able to sit down on my PC, I could just pick it up there too. I think it's a really unique idea, but I know that Paul and Kate and the team that handle Ultima are really, really nervous about it succeeding, because if it doesn't, when's the next time we'll see something Ultima?
The least concerning thing for me about the whole deal is the fact that it's on iOS. I mean,
but most people would say they're terrified of it, right? So why are you not concerned with that?
Well, let's think about it. Back in the day when people were playing this on PC, what year was it?
The original?
The original.
I couldn't tell you. 80 something.
So, chances are, your mobile device is about 10 times stronger than that original PC. So let's bring it back up to speed. You're obviously not playing that game. You're playing a revised remake of it. But everything that you could have done on like a 386, you can far outdo on an iOS with prettier graphics. So I'm not concerned about them making a game that plays well on the iOS.
And if you actually worry about a game playing well on the iOS, like an iPad or something, you don't have one. Is what it means. Because there's some great games on those things. Like you look at what Epic's able to do with like Infinity Blade and stuff like that, and you just get blown away. Or Horn, for crying out loud. Horn is a great, like almost like a Zelda for the iPad, and people don't talk about it, but it's a great game on any system.
Speaking of which, I've seen some ads. You can get Infinity Blade free right now out there, so start looking around on the internet. But
just the
next
original.
week they got it free. Yeah.
The original one, which hopefully you've already played by now. If not, why are you watching this show?
That you guys mentioned. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you
I was just gonna say, this is just kind of like left field, unrelated. But speaking of Infinity Blade, I didn't know that they had like life-size versions of it. I was out with some friends at Dave & Buster's the other weekend, and they actually had like an arcade machine size Infinity Blade, and like you had to you had to do it with your hands, and you just sit there and you look like a complete fool, and you're like swiping and everything. So
I think I've seen that with Fruit Ninja at like amusement parks too. Could you imagine playing Fruit Ninja on like a 46-inch television?
Yeah, you're gonna get some exercise, I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to something that that Gabe will enjoy quite a bit, I bet, is the new SMITE God reveal. I'm gonna try it again. Neath. Holy crap!
Neath. Yeah, that's right. Neath.
Clutch. Okay.
Got it right. Yeah.
So Neath is an awesome new physical ranged. Is it a support class? Is that what you guys actually are?
I think what I heard from Travis was, I guess don't quote me on this. Travis will kill me. It was a physical ranged utility.
Because that explains it. The video shows some pretty cool skills. You've got the one that heals. You've got the whole like leaving a broken weave behind, which you can talk about in a second. And what I like is her ultimate is an arrow that can hit anybody from anywhere on the map.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
It's like ultimate OP. I actually haven't had a chance to see it in action myself. I haven't really jumped into the game since the patch went out. But yeah, it kind of, I was talking with some of the guys from support the other day about it, and it kind of Austin was mentioning how it gives her presence in all lanes, because she can be in the middle lane, and if her ultimate's up, and she can see through her allies, because you can't just see people in other lanes unless one of your friends has eyesight on them. Mm-hmm. So if one of your friends has eyesight on an enemy and they're like, hey, this guy in my lane, like he's about to die, like call it out, and she can be like, all right, where is he? I see him, bam, sort of thing. So even if like you're in the middle lane, you kind of still have like people need to be aware of the fact that there might be a Neath missile coming at me at some point if I'm low HP. So it kind of puts everyone on their guard a bit.
It's like a super long-ranged lane gank. That's the coolest thing ever.
Like, she's the ultimate kill stealer.
Yeah, you don't need to come over here to help out the mid lane. You can just shoot me from like 3 miles away. But how strong is the arrow? It's not like something that's going to knock somebody out, right?
I don't think it does an insane amount of damage. I believe it does slow. And it does do like a bit of a slow, and so there's that. But I don't think it does like an insane amount of damage. You're not gonna like nuke anyone with it. But still, like in SMITE, like one thing I've found just from playing lots of matches and dying an insane amount of time is that stuns.
Life and death, man.
Yes, it's like the second between life and death is like, it's like this thin, man. It's like you get stunned and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm full health, I'm cool. Then you take like a huge hit, then you get stunned by something else, and next thing you know you're dead. It's like next thing you know you're feeding,
There's nothing more satisfying than like playing like Ymir and freezing somebody or putting a wall up behind them as they're trying to run away, and you just cost them their life. Like I didn't kill them, sure, Zeus did, whatever, but I did it. I did that right there.
The team fights get pretty hectic and pretty epic sometimes, but yeah, I think she looks really cool. I was like, when one of our artists, Brian, like poor guy, he sits in an area where a lot of people can see what he's working on. So the whole time he's like drawing Neath and drawing her alternate skins and whatnot. And people were walking by and they're like, "Oh hey, what's going on over here?" It's like, looks pretty hot. So like, yeah, I was definitely one of those people like several times.
Stopping by, you're getting cups of coffee just to go by his desk. Oh, what are you working on still?
Oh, since I'm in the area, like, how's this coming along? Yeah, so I think the art style in her is really, really cool. Obviously, it's gonna catch people's eye, and I think she's gonna have some pretty cool skins coming out for sure in the future.
Is that what we're calling her? Cool.
Yeah, cool.
I want to know how many lonely nights your modeler spent working on her.
How many skins does she really need? She's showing so much skin as it is. Like, is it less clothes for the next one?
It's hard to find a restroom at HiRez when people are working on that one.
The game. I don't think. Can we talk about public masturbation? Is that okay?
This explains why people at HiRez are able to do these shows on Valentine's night.
Yeah, Gabe, what's going on with that? We're married. That's why.
I got no flowers, no candy, anything, man. I mean, I'll let you know when I figure it out.
It's funny. Bill changed the subject, and our viewer count just spiked to the roof. Must have heard you across the internet. They're talking about jiggly physics on this stream. What's going on?
Dear Lord, get me there now.
I have an alert on my iPhone actually anytime that happens.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, Neath looks really sweet. I guess we'll see her probably in like the next week or so, right about that. Every 3 weeks.
I think she's out today, isn't she?
Is she out today?
Oh yeah, she came out.
Shit, I haven't even had a chance to play her.
It was Tuesday.
A Tuesday. So it wasn't
if you-
like you revealed her and she was out. There's no waiting period.
Yeah, this reveal kind of came very close to her release. I believe or was it Wednesday? I think either she revealed it on Tuesday and she went live on Wednesday, or I believe it was Wednesday. That probably makes the most sense. Yeah.
How's the response been so far? Have people liking her? Are they claiming overpowered and stuff like that yet? Have you seen anything?
I think there's a degree of over OP claims always every time a new god comes out, and like sometimes it might be legitimately, maybe she's a bit unbalanced because we haven't noticed something, but a lot of times it's because people just might not know how to really deal with the god because it's new, and she's going to be doing new things, whatever god or goddess we put in. So people are just trying to figure out how to work around them, and once they kind of find that that pattern, it's like, all right, this is how I survive the Neath encounter, or this is how I anticipate the Neath chase down or something like that. Then it kind of like levels off. But initially, and plus with her ult, I mean, being able to hit people from wherever.
Oh, people are going to be pissed about that for a while.
I mean,
right.
Yeah, the first time you get hit by that, you're gonna be like, "What killed me?" So, but me myself, I can't really say from my own experience because I haven't got a chance to play. I definitely want to, so I probably will.
Yeah, he's gonna play her, folks.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
for the
Gotta do
combat.
a lot of testing.
So for the current Smite players that are out there, she's like the last of the 30 God pack, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. She is our 30th god, and so if you bought the 30 god pack, you'll get all the way up to Neath, and going forward, I do not believe.
Is...
So what's the next god coming out?
That's what I was
What she did there. I don't know. I honestly, like, you guys might think I'm making this up, but like, I'm not sure myself. Things kind of happen.
Oh, you're PR. We believe you.
Okay, yeah, you believe me, I'm PR.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not too sure myself because I mean, there might be a certain god that we think is about to come out, but then things might happen to where we want a different god to come out for a variety of reasons.
I think you should put Rajan Zed in the game.
Gosh, yeah.
I think for those of you who aren't familiar, Rajan Zed is I hate to pick on the guy, but he's a Hindi figure that really hates the fact that there are Hindu gods in the game, and he won't go away ever, and he makes Gabe's life a living hell.
We put him in the game. He should have like 1 HP, and his ultimate should be like he just like goes back to or something. I don't know.
or maybe he'd be happy if you made him like the most powerful god in the game, and he'd be like, "Oh well, now it's okay.
Maybe
Callie and Vamana can stay now."
Right. We'll just slip that to them, like under the table. Be like, "Hey, put you in the game." He's like, "All right, cool."
Yeah, I think he wants something else besides that. I think he just wants people to keep saying his name because it's awesome.
I think maybe that's what it is. But
before we move on to the next topic, though, real quick, I'll let you do some shameless plugging of Tribes. Also, maybe not an MMO, but neither really is Smite. But Tribes has had a big milestone, and what was that?
Yeah, lots of Smite activity, or not Smite, Tribes activity this week. This week has been both Smite and Tribes, which is why it's been really, really crazy in the office. But Tribes officially kicked off its Game of the Year edition. It will officially be going out tomorrow, but the soft launch was sort of today. So you can go in game, you can get the Game of the Year pack, which essentially will get you every single perk, every single class, and like over 100 weapons. I believe it's all the weapons in the game. So it's a great way for people who are like, maybe because the whole thing about Tribes and the whole thing about like all the games that HiRez does, which I think is awesome, is that it boils down to a time or money trade-off to where, if you have the time and you want to, unlock things through experience, you have the choice to do that. But let's say that you just kind of want instant gratification, you can purchase the things that you specifically want. So with the Game of the Year edition, it's not like, there's going to be things in there that you can't get unless you purchase them. It's just a way for people who would like to just, catch up and purchase everything in the game. They now have the option to do that, but still you can unlock everything through, just playing the game and getting experience and leveling things up with experience. But that was the big thing for this week, Game of the Year edition. We had a pretty cool informational trailer, and if you haven't seen the Harlem Shake trailer, you need to watch that because Todd Harris has some of the best moves I've ever seen in my life, and I didn't even know he could do that. Oh, that was awesome.
Everybody released one today. Is there something I'm missing here? It's like everybody released a Harlem Shake trailer today.
It's a pretty big thing on the interwebs. It's like
yeah. Even the folks over at Planetside 2 bombarded me and everybody else with emails with their Harlem Shake.
There was David Brevik, like it's his birthday today over at Gazillion with Marvel Heroes in Harlem Shake with their studio, and like he rode by on like a mini scooter wearing a Captain America outfit. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. He wasn't dancing, he just drove by. But
there's some interesting ones, which is why I think it's caught on so much, is because it's like, they're really short, so people can do them really easily, and you can watch them really easily. But at the same time, there's so much like room to do kind of whatever you want to do in that small time. It's like, do you want to do something really crazy, or is it going to be something more toned down and funnier because it's toned down? Yes,
anything to get us away from Gangnam Style.
friends don't let friends Harlem Shake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyway, it's $20 for the Game of the Year edition of Tribes. Pretty much one of the best shooters in recent memory, and also probably the fastest ever. I just want to say that it's not what you're used to. If you're used to a shooter that's like all about walking, let's just put it this way: you fly faster than light, and you ski faster, and it's just ridiculous. And if you're like me, you'll be terrible at it, but have a lot of fun playing it anyway. The spine fuser I suck with. I'll just shoot the ground repeatedly the entire game. I'm like, I'm gonna get that guy. I hit the ground, and he's gone like 30 meters past.
Right.
Whatever. Okay. All right. It is 9:50. Let's keep going then. We move on to Neverwinter, is in the news once again. They had the monetization reveal. Everybody was waiting how, we knew for a while that Neverwinter was going to be a free-to-play MMO. It is coming from Perfect World and Cryptic Entertainment. And what the trick was, though, is people were really worried that they were going to have these things like chests that you could only get unlocks, you could only get keys for if you spent real world money. And thankfully the Jack Emmert, the CEO of Cryptic, came out with a nice blog that says no, not happening. Pretty much every single thing you can get in the game you can get through Astral Diamonds, which is like an in-game currency, or gold. And if you really don't want to take the time to save up those Astral Diamonds, you can buy them with Zen, and then players can also sell their Astral Diamonds and stuff like that. It's just a really good back and forth sort of community sharing of this currency, and you could sell them to make in-game money or sell them to make Zen and all this other stuff. So it's a pretty good monetization model. But I figured with Gabe here, who knows a thing or two about some free-to-play games, maybe you could say, what do you think of their monetization?
I think that from what I've read and what I've heard, I think that they're definitely on the right path. Me just like playing a lot of games growing up, and I think when free-to-play first kind of reared its head, there were a lot of games where it was just blatant, sort of like, all right, here's what you get if you download the game and play it for free, but here's like BFG 2000, which you can only get if you pay money. And it was like, everyone was like, oh, I don't want to play a game where some 9-year-old with mom and dad's credit card is going to beat me because he can just buy things with money, and that's not cool, it's not fair, and blah blah. So I think definitely as free-to-play games kind of matured and more and more of them came out, more and more companies and games switched to free-to-play, the art has been kind of perfected. And I think definitely from what I've heard of the way that Neverwinter is doing their free-to-play, I think it's definitely on a good track to where you have the purchasable in-game currency options. But from what I heard, it's like you can actually get like these gems from playing the game and doing certain quests, and then you could trade those in for like I forget the name of the currency or whatnot. But basically everything could boil down to you just playing the game and getting experience, and then using your experience or your gold to go to the auction house and trading that for the whatever currency, and then using that to get the thing you want. So essentially there's a path for you to get to whatever it is you want to get to. And I think that's smart, because if you limit things based on like having to pay money, like you're going to alienate the community, and people are going to be mad, and it's just going to be bad things.
And the key to that all is that they said that the best items will always be in the content, not anything you can get from the shop. So you're not gonna, even if you had the money and wanted to spend the money to buy the items from the shop, like the best gear or whatever, you're not gonna be able to. You have to get that in the game. So that's pretty cool. Rob, your thoughts?
9-year-olds with credit cards are OP.
They're all OP.
So I like the fact that there's nothing that'll be prohibited from you if you don't want to spend money on the game. Through time, you'll be able to work and purchase with Astral Diamonds anything in the game that they put out. And the way they made it sound is like there'd be future content updates as well.
Mm-hmm.
I am concerned because they didn't say they weren't going to put any Astral Diamond barriers in the game that aren't already there from the beta. Like, I hope they don't say, oh, you can't do like this quest line or these packages without spending some Astral Diamonds like there is in some other free-to-play games. Like, let's just throw it out there, Turbine.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain, instance clusters and stuff like that you can't play unless you spend Turbine points, which you can earn playing the game, but it takes,
a long time.
Quite a bit longer. So, or you can say, hey, I'm going to pay some money and get some Astral Diamonds and do it sooner, which, hey, they got to eat. It's not a charity.
Yeah. I think there's definitely still more specifics that we are missing from that blog post, is what you're saying.
So there's still some more info out there that I'd like to gather, but I do like the fact that no matter what, and hey, you actually can get Astral Diamonds once an hour just from praying.
Yeah, you have an altar and you pray.
Just be in game, pray once an hour, and you can get Astral Diamonds.
It's like 1,000 or 1,500 in the beta, I think. It was a lot.
I think it's going to have a diminishing return that you can only earn so many a day, and then there's only so many you can refine because they're rough Astral Diamonds, and you convert them into pristine Astral Diamonds, which then you can buy things.
It's the most complicated thing I've ever heard, too, by the way. Why do you do
that? It's a little bit more difficult than just going on to the
gem store and
and swapping gold for gems. But I mean, systems like this are in play. I like it. When you don't make me pay for anything, I feel more inclined to pay you.
Yes, for
stuff.
Like spider mounts and things, maybe.
Correct, for armored spider mounts. So when you're not forcing me to pay you, you make it much more likely that I'm going to pay you.
Yeah, and I think Cryptic's learned that over time. I think Perfect World's kind of learning that as they go as well. And I think the whole industry is like, people will pay if the game is fun. They don't need to pay to access the game. But if you give them a game that they want to come back to, and you make the stuff in there worthwhile to pay for, but not necessary to get enjoyment out of the game, then they'll pay for it. Like, I guarantee that Terra, which recently went free to play and gave everybody everything for free, they might be a little scared right now, but as soon as they start putting stuff in their store that's like, this will make you look cooler, and this will make you do this faster,
they've actually had to open up more servers than the ones that they initially relaunched with.
I'm betting money, at least at the outset, that they're gonna pull in a ton of money in their cash shop, and it's always curious to see how these games do when they convert, and then how they do long term. But some of the games that have converted have been around for a very long time afterwards. I think it's a good model for people to use going forward. It's just you have to take it on a case by case basis.
One thing Terra has done though is they're doing the whole treasure chest thing where we're going to give you chests and you need keys.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what we just talked about.
And chests come out. Oh, they've got tons of chests. Like, I played for 15 minutes and got 3 chests.
And you have to buy the keys for how much?
You have to buy the keys. I didn't pay attention.
See, Guild Wars 2 does that too, but those Black Lion keys you can easily get from the auction house or the trading post, and you can get them in the game as well. Like,
the keys are 100 gold on the trading post right now.
100
which is a lot. Yes,
jeez, that's a lot higher than it was. You checked today, didn't you?
Checking out market.
But yeah, so like at least that game gives them to you. So hopefully Terra will give them to you too, because it's nothing worse than that. Like, oh, I have this chest that I want to open, and then maybe you do spend the money on it that costs $5 for a pack of keys or whatever, and you get jack squat out of that chest. Nothing worse.
But you get all the content for free. So not to get off topic, one thing that really did surprise me about the monetization of Neverwinter, they don't have a subscription option, and I think that's worth mentioning.
None.
Other Perfect World games, you can subscribe and you get a monthly stipend of their currency and some other perks. This one does not have that at all.
And then I think what you're tying right into is the fact that they've got that Foundry, which I expect more than any player is going to be able to. Cryptic's going to have very good control over what they can put out with that Foundry content, like the content they build. And like you and I were talking about privately earlier, Rob, like you're going to see some content packs come out from them, like campaigns and dungeon campaigns from Neverwinter, where it's like $5. Come on, buy it, and I will.
But call them modules. They have to call them campaigns or modules.
Campaigns would be the best thing. I like the word campaign. Module works too. Too nerdy. Why are we talking about this?
That's what D&D was, man. They're modules.
Moving right along to our final news topic of the week. Both Gabe and I are kind of clueless on this. Rob read up on it a little bit today. The Return of the Gree event, patch 1.7, launched on Tuesday for Star Wars. I wish we had Mike Bitten here. He loves this game. I got to admit, I didn't have time to read
He's
up
the
on
one.
it. Yeah, he's the one. So we'll let Rob tell us what it's all about, and then we'll discuss it briefly, I guess.
I can't tell you what it's all about, but I do know that trailer was actually kind of funny. It was like a news report.
Yeah, that's
one side was obviously the Galactic Republic. The other side was, the bad guys.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anybody catch that? I don't know if they caught it. We don't have a laugh track for it.
there's been. I've followed some of the bloggers that play this game a lot. Some of my friends and I haven't seen anybody really have a lot of positive feedback yet for it. They've put like dailies in the PvP areas and kind of made them PvE objectives. They've also made free-for-all
That's weird.
PvP. You're going to have like Sith killing Sith and Jedi killing Jedi. And it's... I don't know.
And it's part of the
mess.
event, which lasts for 2 weeks, and then it goes away. But it still seems like, why would you do that? I think the only time that a Jedi ever killed a Jedi was probably Anakin Skywalker as he turned in a terrible, terrible movie. I'll never. But yeah. Anyway, I mean 1.7. Nobody. I shouldn't say nobody cares about 1.7. Everybody's waiting for Rise of the Hutt Cartel to see what happens with Star Wars. 1.7 is just like the appetizer. And there's a lot of cool stuff in there. There's the Galactic Reputation, which is just a rep grind, but it's not the patch I'm looking for in Star Wars. Like I'll pop in the game once in a while and I play it for a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, there's still nothing for me here anymore. I'm waiting for Rise of the Hutt Cartel to see how the story comes back into the game, because that's the thing that Old Republic always did well for me, was the story. And even though my personal class story is not continuing with the expansion, at least the game story will have like this big new planet to go through and to see some of that BioWare story. And I hope, I pray that it's going to be just as good as it was at launch, but you never know. It's been, half that staff's gone. So yeah. Any thoughts at all, Gabe? Did you play Star Wars at all?
You don't
have to lie. You don't work for them.
I play Star Wars all the time. No, when it first came out, I've just never really been a huge Star Wars fan. Like I watched all the movies because I like sci-fi things, but I never was really into it. So when the game came out, I know there's a lot of guys in the office who were really into it. I think some of them even took off a couple days of work to play it when it first came out, and people couldn't even log in because it was so full and all that usual MMO launch type of stuff. But I have not played it. I've heard kind of like a mixed bag of things. A lot of my friends said it was cool how you could, make choices and, gather your own kind of party and that sort of thing. And I think that's great. I think storytelling in MMOs is awesome, and I think it's a great kind of, I guess I'll use the word evolution for MMOs, because, back in the, I want to say back in the day, but like older MMOs, like you didn't have any real personal story for your character. You didn't really make any definitive choices. There was no real Mass Effect, do I shoot this guy or do I let him live sort of thing. So I think it's great to see that kind of making its way into MMOs. But at the same time, like what I do know of Star Wars Online, I talked to someone. It was actually a conversation I had in GameStop one time with one of the managers, and he was just like, man, Star Wars Online, they're really kind of if you don't get the subscription, they went free to play, but the way they did it is kind of like the flip side of what Terra did. It's like their free to play is kind of really just turns the free guys into second class citizens, and you can't really do much anything. So
you can play through the whole story though, which is pretty much the best part of Star Wars. That's worth noting. You can at least do that. You just can't do anything else.
So that's basically all I know. But I think it's great to see it, putting out more content for everyone who's a fan of that series and wants to see more of that world and that lore.
I think there'd be nothing better than to see a comeback of the Old Republic. I just don't know if it's going to happen. That's what I'm watching the Hutt Cartel for.
Okay.
They should rebrand it and call it Knights of the Old Republic 4 through 16.
I think that's
however
what
many,
they. Yeah.
however many character classes they have, and call each one of those a Knight of the Old Republic, and have it be a single player focused game that allows multiple players to help you out. I say some of that in jest. I mean, try to be a glass half full kind of guy. I don't regret purchasing this game and playing through the campaign and getting to the end. It was just at that point it wasn't for me anymore. It was an okay experience leveling, but it just doesn't work as an MMO.
And a lot of
it's a decent game, but it's not a good MMO.
And that's, I feel like what you could talk about all day with this game, and there are people who will disagree and people who will agree, is that maybe, though the story is awesome, maybe they spent too much time focusing on that and not enough time making the rest of the MMO world work. There's other games that are coming up that I worry about, too, doing the same thing. But Elder Scrolls Online, they're going to have a focus on story, and I've played the game, I've seen it, and I know it's fantastic to play. I just really hope that once you get through that story, that there's plenty there to still tie yourself to, and that's what their Alliance versus Alliance game will be all about, the sort of Dark Age of Camelot successor, that everybody's trying to make these days.
Right.
So I think Star Wars could recoup itself. I just don't know how much backing they're getting from EA. I don't know, if there's a lot of money coming into the game still, because to do that kind of stuff, to sort of give their players what they want, and to make the game that you think it needs to be, you need money, and they're not going to have that $300 million ever again.
Yeah.
But okay, last topic of the day. For those of you that are still with us, we've got a good one, and hopefully we won't rant for another hour. It's the community spotlight, the how to fix the Holy Trinity. Now, this
This
topic,
could be the whole episode.
Yeah, we
Seriously.
can do this. So there's we've been talking about this for a little while too. Let's put the video back. Neverwinter, we'll put Neverwinter back on. So Neverwinter, after playing a lot of Guild Wars 2, it doesn't have a Trinity. It has group roles, but they're not the same. You don't have tanks, you don't have heals, you don't have that kind of stuff. Everybody's DPS, and then has sort of like secondary things they have to do in encounters. And then I came into Neverwinter, and immediately I was like so happy that I had a healer, and that I was that healer, and that you had a tank, and you had this DPS in the beta. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, the problem. I think ArenaNet did some great things with their character classes, and I think for that game it works. But as Rob can attest, you still miss that Trinity. You still miss people having class roles. And so I think the solution for ArenaNet was, well, we'll just get rid of those class roles. And I think that was too far in one direction. And then the other direction would be to just have these strict roles where you need to have this party set up, and if you don't, you can't progress. I think, this is my personal view, and then you guys can do yours. My personal view is, I think, and I'll talk about this in a column coming up soon too, I think that the best way to fix the Holy Trinity isn't to get rid of it or to stick to it. It's to let everybody be able to do it depending on whoever needs to be there in the group. So if you had a group of 5 friends, okay, well, which one of us is going to be the healer today? And you just turn a switch and you're the healer. It's not necessarily that you even have to change your class. Your class could have healing mechanics designed into it, and then you just say, okay, well, I'll tick a little button and I'm the healer, and my skills become healing skills. We've seen something similar in the Secret World, but you still have to learn those skills. You still have to build those skills up and acquire them before you can use them. Final Fantasy XI had the ability to sort of play every class, but it was the same thing there. If you were a really good red mage or whatever, you couldn't just suddenly say, okay, well, now I'm going to go be our healer, and then just I don't even know what I'm talking about with Final Fantasy, by the way, so if those doesn't make sense, don't worry. You couldn't just change to be the healer and then be the same level. You'd have to level up your healer to get to the point where you needed them to be. I think the way to fix the Trinity and the way to make it still useful and relevant is to just simply let everybody change their role depending on what they need at that specific time, and not have to worry about having multiple characters and leveling everything up at different periods of time. Just let everybody change based on whatever the encounter is, as long as you're out of combat. That's me. I'm done. Peace out. Leaving.
So I'll go ahead and jump in, and for me, like, this is a question and a topic that, like, I love talking about, and that, like, I've had my own theories about, just like playing games and thinking of like, well, if I made a game, like how would I, answer this, problem? How would I address this? And I think what it boils down to is I don't even know if my opinion, which I'm about to give, I don't even know if it's possible. I mean, I think it would definitely be something that would take a lot of time and resources, and again, might not even be doable. But I think that I enjoy the fact that when I play an RPG, people have to make some sort of commitment to the classes that they pick. So I don't want someone to be like, all right, I'm gonna play a rogue, and then like have that rogue have the option to be a healer for the team or be a tank for the team. Like I think that there should be, obviously if there's hybrid classes in the game where there's some classes that can be multiple roles, they should have that, but still there should be some level of kind of commitment to like, all right, I'm going to be playing a class that priorly, tanks, maybe can do some small amount of damage if I, maybe put the stat points, stat them correctly. So essentially what I would do, or what I think would be awesome, or a great way to make a game with the Trinity intact, would be to allow people to make their decisions, pick their class, but at the same time give them options within that class to customize. Like allow them to decide whether they want to go full tank and be like the most burliest absorption-iest, which isn't even a word, but I just made it up, dude out there, or you can be like, all right, I'm gonna pick a tank class, but I'm gonna put the priority of my talents and my skills into doing damage, and maybe even, I mean, and again, like that gets into the thing where like if you had a guy who could like heal, tank, and DPS,
yeah.
It's like,
well, if you had like the best tank ever, why would you take a tank that wasn't the best tank ever, and stuff like that? Like it's a really hard problem to solve.
I could write like a dissertation about the Trinity and social constructs. And here's kind of my take on it, and I'll give you two extremes. On one end of the spectrum, you've got like Dark Age of Camelot, where there are people that are in very specific roles. You got the buffers, the debuffers. You got people that are really just meant to go into the back line that are tanky and disrupt their casters. You've got stealthers, which are meant to go in and kill those casters back in the back lines. You've got people that are just basically fodder. You've got a bunch of different classes that do a lot of different things, okay? And then on the other end of that spectrum, you've got Guild Wars 2, right, where everybody can do kind of anything. And that really encourages you to solo play and makes it very convenient for you. But look at the 5-man dungeons. I mean, what happens?
Zerg.
Exactly. People just go in there.
They're spending time mitigating. They're trying to figure out how to fix it, which tells you it's a problem, right?
Yeah, and the only way to fix that is to give people roles so that you could tackle the encounter and do something with it. Because if you don't have anybody that can kind of tank in there and hold aggro and let people get around and do damage, and another person to kind of keep them alive, you don't really have a way to strategize and do the encounter. So instead you're just left with Rezzing Zergian.
And there are teams that I've seen that do it really well because they've learned boss strategies, and it becomes more about like dodging and attacking at certain times. But
it's all about individual responsibility at that point. But people don't do it. A handful of people are going to do that.
In a random group, you're not going to have that.
Yeah.
And so primarily, you're going to be with random people sometimes in a lot of MMOs.
Correct. Now, if you want to force teamwork, then you make class roles more specific to where people have to group and people have to fix certain roles. Now, I enjoyed what Final Fantasy XI did and allowed people to be every class on one character. I think part of that has to do with the fact they charged you by character to play that game.
Was it like $2.99 per?
It was a couple extra bucks for an additional character slot, but you could go and learn every job on that character, and that was really cool. And you couldn't like mix and match the skills in Final Fantasy XI between classes. You just changed.
Yeah.
And if you were in a group and something happened and you couldn't find a healer, but you had a healer, you'd be like, hey, wait, find another DPS or whatever.
Right.
Go change to a healing
and
soul,
you might
and
not
then
be
we'll
that
come
good
back.
at that class. You might not have played it enough to be great at it, but at least you could have that role.
But you would also probably have played that class to the level of the encounters that you're doing, so you would at least have that knowledge. Like I wouldn't, be a dragoon to 75, and then all of a sudden have never played a white mage, but my white mage job is 75. My white mage would be whatever I played it to, which could be 2.
Which is the problem I had with Final Fantasy XI. It's that, okay, so I could go be a healer, But to play with the group that I was currently playing with that needs the healer, I have to still level that healer up. And I think I'm not saying that just simply making that white mage available at 75 to somebody that doesn't know how to play him is the solution either. But my thing is that the problem is if you go back to that class and he's no longer the level of the rest of your group for that encounter, it doesn't solve anything. You still need a healer.
You are correct, but that's like a bit of a solution that nobody else really had.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, well, that's bad. Yeah, so...
Yeah, it's like halfway there.
That's just a bonus. Yeah. You can't get mad because you got a bonus and it's not, twice the bonus that you wanted. I mean, that's like me giving you a raise and say, hey, Bill, here's a 3% salary raise for nothing. You're like, well, fuck, why isn't it 5? You can't get mad at something like that.
I didn't say I was mad. I'm simply saying
I'm just giving trouble.
It's definitely halfway there. Like I cited it too. It's like halfway to the fix. But there needs, and I don't know how you would design it so that people could actually know their role when they change classes on a whim. I mean, the only way to do it is for everybody would have to change roles occasionally to learn them. Or you have to find some sort of other mechanic where it's clear cut, like how you would heal in an encounter if you hadn't done it before, how you would tank in an encounter if you hadn't done it before. And I'm just playing armchair designer here. I don't know these things. I'm just saying that I definitely missed the Holy Trinity. And I still play Guild Wars 2, like it's my game still, but now when I play it, I'm like, I really wish I could just be a healer right now.
What about hybrids that do 2 roles but not all 3? What if I could play a class that DPS'd and healed pretty decently?
Like if
maybe I did damage and had an AoE heal, or maybe I was a healer. I was a pure paladin. I could heal, but I could also tank, like in Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like
and not only does toss and heal people, it helps generate threat for you as well and keep tanking by healing. And then you could have, 2 people could really fill all 3 of the roles, and at least you'd have some kind of group cohesion there. You'd have a reason to pick up an additional person. It's like, hey, look, I can tank, I can keep myself alive, but it takes me forever to kill these. I can get this guy, and he can do the DPS, and there we go. You got a reason to group back up. And I hopped back into Guild Wars 2 today to get my volunteer title and save my 75 peasants from the evil tornadoes. But I was, and I love the art in that game, and I'm sitting here talking to Bill over chat. I'm like, man, I can't figure out why I can't get back into this game because it's been so long since I played it. And he's like, it's because they don't have the Trinity. And I was like, well, yeah, that's it. I forgot.
For a lot of people, it's like a prerequisite, and I'm part of me is really glad that Guild Wars 2 did away with it because but it also means that I don't play the dungeons. Like, I play the game for its open world content and its world versus world, but I'm like, F those dungeons, it's going to be too much of a pain in the ass.
Played 2. I don't even know how many they have, and I've only done 2.
A lot, and people love them. I mean, I think we might be in the minority because Guild Wars 2 players are like running Fractals of the Mist, like, oh, I'm on level 30 Fractals of the Mist. I'm like, what?
I did do the Fractals. I take that back. So I've done like 2 of the 5-man normal story mode ones, and then the Fractals ones.
So, I mean, maybe we're crazy. Maybe we don't need the Trinity, but I personally,
I don't think so.
In my dream world, I think that you need the Trinity, and people just need to figure out how to make it work so that you're not always reliant on LFG or Dungeon Finder the entire time.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky line to walk because I'm a believer in the fact that, like, in a game you shouldn't ever kind of not be able to take on something or do something because you don't have a specific class at hand. And in games like, I keep going back to EQ because I played it so many years, but like in EQ, it's like if you didn't have one of those tanking classes, it was kind of like, well, we can't really, do this efficiently. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can try, and you might maybe be like, all right, let's have the monk tank, and like we'll just take on stuff one at a time, and we'll hit the mobs that don't really, do that much damage, and we'll use our healing to balance out the fact that we don't really have a tank, but maybe we have really good DPS, and we'll just kill him before he can even do that much damage to us. So I think that it's a tight line to walk, but definitely I do personally, I think that there should be defined roles, maybe some wiggle room between what that role can do, but definitely I wouldn't really enjoy a game that didn't have everybody could kind of do everything, or there wasn't any sort of
you didn't have a place in a group. Like if you don't have a place, it doesn't feel right. And that's the one thing I think that we're going to see as sandbox games come back into play and games continue to go over the next couple years. You'll see people try to toy with that Trinity some more, because while Guild Wars 2 fixed it in one way, it's not the way, and there's still more work to do there. Anyway, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Everybody watching, it has been fantastic. Thank you for joining us late. We're very sorry for our technical difficulties. As you can tell, Gabe's actual video feed has frozen. He's smiling and not picking his nose. So
that's awesome.
It's 2 weeks in a row with technical difficulties. It's what are you going to do? We can't make Skype work all the time. No, you're still good, Rob. Believe it or not. But thank you for watching. Do not forget to follow us on all of the social networks at MMORPG.com. That's Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Did I forget anything? Google Plus community at MMORPG. And don't forget, right now you gotta go buy Tribes Ascend Game of the Year edition for $20. Isn't that right, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, definitely check it out. I mean, if you want to go,
it's free. You can still try free and then buy.
Exactly. Like, try it out. If you feel like you want to experience everything in the game, you can try out Game of the Year edition. But at the very least, definitely go pick it up. It's a breath of fresh air. Fresh air.
Fresh of fresh air. I like it.
Fresh of
This episode of MMOFTW brought to you by Tribes Ascend Game of the Year edition. Buy now for limited time, $19.99 on HiRezStudio.com.
That was really good, actually.
Yeah.
I wish there had been like money that exchanged hands, but Gabe's poor, so.
Yeah.
But yes, please, and then don't forget to check out Neath too over on SMITE. Gabe, thank you as always for hanging out with us.
No, thank you guys. It's been a blast. Really enjoyed it.
And don't forget to follow Gabe on Twitter at GabeMug. And don't forget to follow Graculen on Twitter. That's at Graculen, Grakulen, if you don't already follow him. And you can follow me at the Bill Murphy, because there's more than one of us. I want to make sure.
Bill with two L's.
Yeah, with two L's. Thank you for watching, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, because you're all alone like we are. And